When you see those images of millions of people marching in the streets, it's easy to just see it as this huge one-day spectacle, right? But what if that's only the tip of the iceberg? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the powerful, hidden strategy that's designed to turn that single day of protest into a long-term movement. Okay, first, let's just wrap our heads around the scale here. The No Kings protest. This isn't just a few marches in big cities. We are talking about over 3,100 coordinated protests happening all over the globe. The organizers have actually called it the largest single day of protest in American history. The sheer number is just staggering, and it's designed to make one thing crystal clear, that opposition to the administration's agenda is, as they put it, literally everywhere. And of course, seeing a number that big brings up the question you always hear, the skeptical question, right? Do these things actually change anything? I mean, after the crowds go home, after the signs are put away, does anything fundamentally shift? Or is it just, a lot of noise for a day? Well, if you ask the organizers, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. But, and this is a big but, only if you get that the protest itself isn't the final goal. It's all about changing a fleeting moment into a real, lasting movement. So, to really get this, you have to understand this key difference they make between a tactic and a strategy. That big one-day protest, that's just a tactic. It's a tool in the toolbox. The real strategy is so much bigger. It's about building what they call mass defiance everywhere and creating local power that can keep pushing, day in and day out. The protest is just the front door. And that's exactly why the organizers have this very specific term for it. They call it a mass absorption event. See, the main goal isn't just sending a message to the folks in charge. It's not just about getting bodies in the street for an afternoon. It's about absorbing those people into the movement for the long haul. And they don't just hope this happens. They have a really deliberate process for it. The best way to think about it is like a funnel. You've got all this massive energy from millions of people. How do you channel that into something that's going to last? Well, it doesn't happen by accident. And this funnel, it's not some abstract idea. It's a series of really concrete steps. It all starts super simple. You show up to a protest. Then, while you're there, someone gives you a personal face-to-face invitation to something they call a What's Next event. You go to that follow-up meeting, and that's where you get plugged into real local work that's already happening. Stuff like advocacy, community support, or even electoral campaigns. See? It's a really clear path from marching on the street to getting involved in something that lasts. And you can actually see this funnel creating these little organizing sparks all over the country. One organizer tells the story about a protest in a tiny conservative town, and suddenly 50 people are there. And that moment, that realization that, wow, I'm not alone here, that's the catalyst. People start saying, hey, let's keep this going. And just like that, a new local group is born. This kind of thing happens hundreds of times after every big national protest. All right, so the big question is, does this whole strategy of building local power, does it actually work? Well, the evidence is starting to show that, yeah, this model is creating a political infrastructure that's way more resilient and responsive. And this quote right here, from a resident in the Philly suburbs, it just cuts right to the heart of the problem they're trying to solve. For decades, right, political engagement in so many places was just fleeting. Organizers would parachute in a month before the election, and then poof, they were gone. And that just created this deep sense of cynicism, this feeling of being used. I mean, think about the old way of doing politics. You just dump millions of dollars into TV ads in October, right? It's expensive, it's impersonal, and it's gone in a flash. The new strategy is about building community infrastructure all year long. It's like the difference between buying a 30-second ad and owning the local radio station. One is just a temporary message. The other builds relationships and trust day after day. I mean, if you want a really jaw-dropping example of how this works, look at what happened in the Twin Cities. The very same activists who had been building their networks through these national protests, well, when a local crisis hit, they were able to respond with unbelievable speed. They managed to organize 1,300 rapid response protests in just 48 hours. That's just not possible unless you've already built that foundation year-round. And the numbers back this up too. Since the 2016 election, the total number of local chapters has shot up by 150%. But what's really fascinating is where this growth is happening. A disproportionately high number of these new groups are popping up in red and purple areas, places that aren't your traditional hotbeds of activism. And hey, this isn't just about the suburbs either.
This growth is reaching way into parts of the country that would probably surprise you. We're talking about protests being organized in places like Gustavus, Alaska, a town with a population of 612 people, or in small, deeply conservative towns in rural Texas. The whole point is to have a presence absolutely everywhere.
So all this growth, everywhere, it all feeds into the ultimate goal, which is to create what they call a big tent movement. It's this recognition that to really make change, they can't just preach to the choir. They have to grow the coalition.
Yeah, the whole strategy really depends on bringing new people into the fold. People who maybe don't even think of themselves as political or even identify as Democrats. They're seeing this huge influx of people who are just compelled to act because they see how the administration's policies are directly affecting their lives. And the mindset here is just radical welcome. The message is super clear. When new people show up, the reaction can't be, well, where were you last year? It has to be welcoming them with open arms. Organizers even say this applies to disillusioned former Trump voters who feel let down. The whole idea is to build this gigantic coalition that's way bigger than any one political party.
So we're not going to end with a neat little summary here. Instead, we're going to end with the direct challenge that the organizers themselves put out there. They're asking you to think about 3 people in your own life, people who aren't activists, who think politics is messy, but who you know are unhappy with the way things are going. Their challenge is simple. Reach out to them. Give them the gift of an invitation. Because that, they argue, is how a moment really truly becomes